Finally feeling free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but I answer to. Ain't a fixture in the palace zoo. No, and since the carbonite's off me, I'm living life now that I'm free, yeah. Told me get myself together, now I got myself together. Now I made it through the weather, better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy, the carbonite is gone. I'm moving on, I'm so happy that it's over now. The pain is gone. Shades of pepper up my eyes, I'm jumping in my ride, I'm heading out tonight. I'm solo, I'm hot and solo, I'm hot and solo, I'm hot and solo, solo. Picking up my blaster, putting it on my side, I'm jumping in my Falcon, Wookiee at my side. I'm solo, I'm hot and solo, I'm hot and solo, I'm hot and solo, solo. I'm hot and solo, I'm hot and solo, solo. Now I'm feeling how I should join the alliance, it feels so good. Oh, stop feeling misunderstood. Back in the game, who knew I would? Oh, so fly, time I spread my wings. Loving myself makes me wanna sing. No, oh yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I'm your host, Caleb.
Hi, I'm Seth. I talk Star Wars with this man.
And I'm sorry I had the wrong music set at first.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, we were distracted by discussing
cartoons,
cartoons and
animation,
like,
and
how I have the weird tone shift from like
of how you were introduced to Superman. You went
Yeah.
from Fleischer cartoons to Smallville.
to Smallville.
What a leap. What a leap.
Which,
Like, there was no in-between. Like, you didn't make the journey. You didn't go Fleischer cartoon, 70s Superman, and then, like, animated Superman.
yeah.
Like, Superman the Animated
It
Series,
went-
specifically. No, you just went Smallville.
I guess technically it goes
Like-
Fleischer cartoons, Smallville, Justice League animated, and then Superman Returns.
Yeah, that's a jump, especially because Superman Returns kind of counts on you having seen at least the first two 70s Superman, like the 79 and then 80s
Does.
Superman film, because it
But
realizes
it's fine.
because it counts on basically Superman Returns is supposed to be Superman 3.
Yeah.
It's a redo of Superman 3 because it's like, oh, 3 and 4 nobody liked. But yeah, we're here to talk Star Wars
Yeah,
though.
we're not here for that.
We always get off topic because I think people don't care because I've seen comments of like people enjoy us talking about other stuff. But it's Star Wars is in the name of the podcast,
Yeah.
so we got to talk Star
For the
Wars.
most part, we're gonna try to focus on that.
So we got a little bit of news.
Yes.
Well, we got one piece of major news that we want to talk about, and that's something that you and I talked about before filming last week because we were like, oh, we saw this little article that said a Jedi Survivor trailer's coming out.
Yep.
Do we want to talk about that? Well, no, because the trailer's not out yet. Well, during the week, turned out that trailer did come out, and now we're gonna watch it together.
Yes.
So let me pull that up. There we go. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long 5 years. We've tried to resist. Fear and mistrust rule the galaxy.
That looks cool. It's Marin. She wasn't in the last trailer, so oh, Greasy. I like Greasy's new haircut. The grappling hook looks cool. And there's our High Republic character.
Oh, that is a bold claim.
Place it's worth fighting for, no matter the cost.
Yeah. Oh, I hope there's plenty of chances for them to be fighting side by side, because oh, it's so soon,
Yeah.
but so far, because it's practically a month away. No, it is a month away.
Yeah.
Like, because it's what's today, 25th. So yeah, I'm glad I pre-ordered and I'm ready to play this as soon as it comes out. Like I am.
You might want to.
Yeah. No, don't worry. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, see, one of our guests enjoys when we get off topic. But yeah, so does this increase your excitement for the game in any way?
Yeah, I'm glad that some people are gonna be, if they haven't read the books, they're gonna be like, why does Grease have a robot arm? 5 years, a lot's happened. I'm like, yeah, Cal, a lot did happen.
I love Grease's new haircut though. He looks looks like he's going for a hippie lifestyle.
Yeah,
But
Grease
and Marin's new haircut is also.
Yeah. Although, I think in terms of gameplay that I'm excited for, I don't know if, like, the few, like, tag team combos I saw are gonna be, like, an in-game
Yeah,
thing, or if
'cause-
they're specific to cutscenes.
Yeah, because because in the first game, the only time we worked with Marin was during the fight with Terran Malicos.
Yeah, the fucking
And it's-
most ripped Sith Lord
and
I've ever seen.
and the moments are scripted.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look scripted because you're fighting a stormtrooper in that scene. You're not
Yeah.
fighting a boss. So I hope it's not a scripted moment. I hope it's or at least when I say scripted, I mean it's not just for a boss fight.
Yeah.
I hope it's like, oh, we're going to a planet together, and yeah, it's scripted that she goes with you, but like you're on this mission together, and so you're tag teaming.
Yes. It's very much. Also, I don't know.
So the villain is so the guy that's in the back to tank and that villain that we've
Yeah.
seen in the first trailer, the one that's like upset that the Jedi let the Empire succeed.
Yeah.
It's basically been confirmed that he's a High Republic character. Like,
Okay.
not a character we know, but he
Yeah.
existed during the High Republic. That's the
He's-
that's what we know.
He's like, the creeping moral decay of the galaxy seems to have slipped in
Yeah.
while I was taking a really long nap.
Basically, he's like, I'm pissed that the Jedi have fallen this
Like,
hard.
How did you get? He essentially, I guess, was put in like stasis.
Which we know
woke up.
does exist in Star Wars.
Yeah, and woke up and was like, I took a nap and you guys had like 200 something. Fuck it. What happened?
Yeah.
How did you guys fuck it up this bad?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's going to be interesting
Yeah.
because while his ideals are in the right place, obviously he's going.
The reality of the situation is like.
The reality of the situation is crazy, and also the way he's going about this is wrong. It's that cool motive, still murder
Yeah.
situation.
Can you imagine if he never like actively sent anyone out of you, and just every time you showed up, he just roasted you for like. Sorry, I guess Cal. In this instance.
Yeah. And to be fair, Cal was only a kid when it happened. It's not his fault. Man was like, what, 10, 11 when it happened? I don't know the math right now.
Maybe 13 at the latest.
Yeah. Because he was still just probably
Yeah.
probably closer to 13. But he
Yeah,
was
but he
he
was
was a
still, like-
Padawan. Because Padawans tend to so Jedi tend to become Padawans closer to like 13-ish.
Yeah, I always figured it was like.
Now, we also had to take into effect though that 19 is considered to be late blooming as a Jedi, like which is what Obi-Wan was. He's kind of a late bloomer in that he
Yeah.
was still a Padawan
Well,
at 19.
We've got Vernestra Rowe, who really lowered that age.
Yeah, she's she changed. it's that grading curve when
Yeah.
you're in school. Vernestra is the one that brought up the grading curve, and it's like, fuck you, Vernestra. But also, like, we love Vernestra
We
here.
love you, but also like
Like, you cause the grading curve to be much harder.
yeah.
It's when that teacher grades on a curve, and then there's that one student that gets, like, 100% of everything.
Yeah.
Manages to get even the bonus question, so it has, like, 110% on their test, and it's like, you fucker. Why'd you have to be so smart?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't hate them.
Yeah, it's like you're too smart for your own good.
All right. But that's really it
Yeah.
for Survivor. Like, honestly, it's a broken record. I'm excited, like, because every time we talk about this game, I'm excited for this game. Oh yeah, the Curve Busters on math, yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, so like, I'm a broken record when it comes to Survivor. I'm excited, and we'll be talking about another game in a minute that I'm kind of excited for, but I'm kind of not because
Yeah.
it should have already been out by now, but it's not. There's a reason why we're going to talk about it though.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and jump into our main topic for today.
All right.
So we are talking about the 2015 Star Wars comic run,
Mhm.
and specifically we are talking about Yoda's Secret War, which is Volume 5.
Yeah.
Spoiler warnings for a comic that is now,
8 years old if it's from 2015.
yeah, well, I think these specific issues are like 2016-ish, but yeah, still like over 5 years.
Like about 7 years.
Over 5
I
years
think
old.
We're past like
But I'm still giving the spoiler warning just to be nice. If I will say I like the 2015 run, except for something we're going to talk about.
okay.
And it's not a spoiler thing, but there's a thing that we have to address.
All right. Is this an in-story thing or a
This is a artistic thing.
okay?
So the spoiler warning's down now because
Yes.
we've given them the fair warning. So I forgot that this comic starts because the reason I put it on the timeline where I did is because Yoda's Secret War itself takes place about where I put it.
Okay.
Forgot that it also connects to the Scar Squadron storyline that was going on in that run. So you start off with the between episodes 4 and 5
Yeah.
segment, and I forgot about that. And that segment also brings out the worst part about the 2015 run. And it's a later issue. The first few the first few issues did have this. It's the later issues, I think, where they fixed it.
Okay.
So there's an artist that's working on this comic named LaRocca. Salvador LaRocca. And he is infamous for, with his art, tracing.
Okay.
So he traces his art, especially for faces. And where this problem becomes a bigger issue is when he's doing characters that are from live action properties.
Whoops.
And I think you know where I'm going with this because you read the comic too. The faces go into the uncanny valley a bit, artistically speaking.
Oh.
Specifically, like he's taking frames from the movies
Yeah.
and then making the characters look like they do from the movies, and it becomes this. That's a little bit too photorealistic for the art that we're doing here. And so, like, the worst example is Han.
Oh yeah, the fucking like
The
shot.
O face. Hold on,
You can show this to the audience.
yeah, I'm gonna show this because I posted this on Twitter last night because I read the comic last night because
Yeah.
it's only 5 issues.
Yeah, it's not a very long.
So I reread it last night and I started talking with one of my mutuals on Twitter about it because
Yeah.
they read a lot of comics.
Yep.
And so like they know what I was talking about because they've talked about it too on their Twitter feed. Oh, this is a good example of it's not the O face, but it's like, oh, this is definitely a picture that's like this shows a prime example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I guess for me, since I don't normally, apart from like what we do here on the show, I don't read a lot of comics.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, this looked fine. I was like, I don't know why you used like a real photograph for this one,
Yeah.
but
you see
so
the
it didn't freak me out then,
but
and
now
it still kind of doesn't.
No, but it's still very much a what the fuck.
I'm like, this is a weird still frame to pick from.
Especially for this line.
Yeah.
But like the problem is, so I was reading this comic as it was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not saying to do this, children.
Oh.
Don't use this so there are websites where you can read comics for free.
Yep.
There's a very famous one, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I was going between buying the issues physically and also like reading online this way. And so whenever I didn't have the money to buy the issues, I would read them online, but I would always buy the issues when I could. Whenever reading on this website, there is a comment section underneath each issue where you can read the comments of people that are reading the comic.
Yeah.
Oh boy, did everybody hate this artist. Everybody was like, they need to take LaRocca off of this because like we just can't stand the photorealism. And it's a problem even to this day because like they work outside of the Star Wars they work for Marvel.
Okay.
So it is a Marvel Comics issue that they have this artist. And I think they still do a lot of work. But yeah, so it's a thing. They are very famous for tracing, and to the point that they've even traced their own work, and you can go back and be like, oh, you've reused this shot a bunch. It's that level. And that's where, as an artistic person, it's just like, oh no. I'm trying to see how recent their work is with Marvel. Oh, there's the 2017, 2018. That's all part of the 2015 run of Star Wars. They're working on an Alien comic. That's from that ended last year.
People were like, please get this guy out of everything else. It's creepy. And they're like, all right, we know exactly where to put him now.
I guess that type of drawing would look good for like the androids in Alien. But outside that, and it's weird because like I think the photorealism works on some characters, but not human characters. Because I think the Yoda stuff looks good. Like when this comic is weird because it's very much a case of it's a story within a story within a story.
Yes.
There are 3 layers to this.
Yeah.
Because you have the stuff that's going on in the main time period, which is in between 4 and 5.
Yep.
And then you have the layer of the fact that this is Luke reading Obi-Wan's journal. Mm-hmm. So you have stuff going on with Obi-Wan. And then you have the 3rd layer of Obi-Wan telling the story of what Yoda told him about this planet. Now, the majority is the Yoda stuff. Because I think once we get into the flashback, we stay in the flashback until the final. It's really bookended. Is really the case of this.
It's very Yoda's section of it is very clear cut.
Yeah, I'd say the only time we break from it is for an Obi-Wan section.
Yeah,
and it's like one time, and then it just goes back to the Yoda stuff until it's done. There's some similarities to another book that we've reviewed that I think you might have noticed.
Yeah, I did.
And the fact that this came out first is interesting.
Yep.
So Padawan.
Yes.
It's
very much
very similar.
very similar.
You've got the Lord of the Flies thing going with the kids that are in charge of everything going on. You've got a planet that's working against them that turns out to be alive in some way.
Yep.
You've got like these Force-using kids.
Yeah. And it's like
No. There are major differences.
There
are. But it's funny looking back on this now. Because when reading Padawan, I wasn't even thinking of Yoda's Secret War.
well, I wasn't either.
Well, because you never read it.
I never read it.
But I'd read it. But I never thought about it. And now that I've gone back, I'm like, wait a minute.
This seems suspicious.
But I don't mind that there's some similarities because
It's a big galaxy.
it tells a different story at the end of the
Yes,
day.
it does. This is a very different story.
I think though with a similar message about humility and being able to humble
One
yourself.
is very. I would say that although the stories are similar, they do not end on the same notes.
No. They don't end on the
lessons.
true. One I guess is about self-discovery, Padawan.
Yeah.
And then the other is more about being able to humble yourself and the meaning of being a Jedi.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's the difference in terms of messaging.
The way that I read it is like with Padawan, it's more like Obi-Wan, for fuck's sake, it's okay to like make choices, man.
It's okay to make choices, and it's okay to be questioning yourself because you're still a kid.
You're
growing
Stop
up.
worrying so much.
Because at the point of Padawan, he's 14,
Yeah.
14, 15
like-
around there.
You need to stop worrying so much about what others think and do. Worry about yourself.
Yeah, you're not competing with your fellow Padawans.
Yeah, it's fine. You'll grow when you're ready. With this one, it's like Yoda's thinking about how he's gotten here, and he's like, maybe I should remember how I got to be as strong as I am now.
And it's by humbling yourself and listening to the Force. And in this case, Yoda is willing to let a kid be his master and teach him ways of the Force, which is interesting. Because how many other Jedi during this... Because technically we're in the High Republic era.
Yeah.
Because it takes place before Episode 1. Although we know that it's not far from Episode 1 because we see Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Like, we see the young Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, like, when they're, like, before Episode 1. Because the beginning of the comic, the beginning of the Yoda part is him taking down these pirates.
Yeah.
And Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan show up afterwards and are like, hey, how'd it go? Oh, you already dealt with it.
Yep. Oh, shit. You got a kid.
Obi-Wan being impressed because, once again, he's a Padawan, so he's
Yeah.
like, oh my god.
Damn, Yoda.
I want to be as powerful as this one day. It's the every young Jedi Padawan's dream of, like, how they look at Yoda as a warrior versus the reality that Yoda's not a warrior. Like, he is, but by definition he is, but also he's not because of his tactics.
That is not what he tries to be.
Correct. He tries to find the peaceful route.
He tries
Every time
to
he
be
can.
a mediator.
Yeah, because that's
It
what
doesn't work a lot.
Because that's what Jedi initially should
Ideally
be.
are.
Ideally, yeah. They are ideally mediators who...
But the reality of the situation is, once again, a lot different.
It kind of reminds me... I'm going off topic here.
Go on.
Since last week, we talked about Scream. Past couple weeks, we talked about Scream.
Mhm.
I've been seeing some stuff on the subreddit that was very interesting. Your thoughts on... So what would you declare Sydney a murderer by the end of the first film? Just the first film.
Just the first one?
Yeah, just the first film.
I don't remember actively...
Well, her killing Billy and Stu. Would you say that she's a murderer for doing that?
No, they were a clear and present danger.
And so this is where I kind of
that
connected
needed
because
to be removed.
I kind of connected in the sense of, like, Sydney was not out to kill anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Yoda's not out to, like Jedi are not out to actively kill people. But sometimes you gotta defend yourself.
Yep.
And it's weird because somebody on Reddit had such a weird take of like, oh, Sydney's. They tried to use the Batman justification of, the quote of, you kill somebody and that doesn't get rid of a murderer because you are now a murderer for killing somebody. No.
I don't know. I don't think that qualifies Jim Gordon as a murderer.
But like the whole like Batman, if he killed a murderer, like if he killed the Joker, that still leaves the world with a murderer. And it's just like, that's not how that works.
Your options are one arguably justifiable murder versus the mass bombing lunatic.
Or in the case of Scream, the justifiable self-defense versus two serial killers that are out. Especially since in the case of Scream, it's more of a realistic scenario where it's very like grounded in reality. It's humorous.
It's a very humorous.
It's humorous because like the
but,
film is still
like,
the films are
human.
still horror comedy, but it's still grounded in reality. Where there aren't like superhuman, like it's part of why I like Scream. There's no superhuman quality to the killers. They are still very grounded, which is why they're always stumbling or your favorite thing when they run into doors.
Yes, my favorite thing. The tables, ladders, and chairs in the final act.
Yeah. Ghostface versus doors. Doors win.
A lot.
But back to Star Wars.
Unless there's a mail slot.
But back to the Star Wars side of it, though. Like, the Star Wars side of it, though, is that it's very similar. Jedi aren't out to actively...
Like, they're not actively here to, like, put people down.
Even during the Clone Wars, I'd say they aren't... I think the Clone Wars gets muddy because they don't want to be soldiers.
But
the time, unfortunately, calls for them to be.
Politics and scenarios of the time are like, hey...
And even then, they do try to find the most peaceful solution to the battles that they're involved in. Like, Obi-Wan is the negotiator. That's his nickname. Because he is known for just trying to talk people out of shit. And so, like...
God, we've gone over this, but I don't think I've ever actually said this out loud. Obi-Wan has had it fucking rough.
I think we talked about it during the Obi-Wan Kenobi show review.
Yeah. But, like, I don't think the thing that, like, embodied that for me, I think, was the part where, it's one of the comic series that we ran, like, from Obi-Wan's
Oh,
journal.
was it the Obi-Wan journal comic? Yeah.
Yeah, where he, like, after trying to convince, like, a guy who has went and, like...
Oh, during the Clone Wars, that soldier that was with him?
Yeah. Where he just kind of shut down, and I'm like, if Anakin wasn't there, I'm 90% sure Obi-Wan would have just let himself die.
Which...
I'm like, I think that... Like, we've seen Obi-Wan in some bad places, but I think that is the absolute worst I have seen him.
And it's not even a Obi-Wan at fault thing. It's this man was, like, going through PTSD, and, like, it was basically suicide by Jedi, is what this man was going for. And Anakin was there to provide that.
Because Obi-Wan fucking wasn't gonna do that.
Because Obi-Wan, like, even though Obi-Wan kept saying, yeah, we're gonna kill this guy. No, you weren't. You weren't gonna go through with it. Because Obi-Wan is somebody who lives by the ideals of a Jedi. Yeah. He is one of the most idealistic versions of a Jedi. Now,
and that shit can be hard sometimes. You can get your girlfriend killed, your apprentice can fall to the dark side, your master can die.
Because I'd say there are very few Jedi that meet the actual ideals of what they aspire to. At least prequel era onward.
Like, Obi-Wan has a lot of reasons to fall to the dark side, but he never does.
Wait until we get to... There's this short story that's in this collection that takes place during the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
There's a very interesting one that deals with that issue, and it takes place exactly where you think it would. It's after Satine dies, and it's just Obi-Wan's internal monologue of going through, like, do I get angry and kill Darth Maul here and now, or do I, like, live up to the ideals of a Jedi still? And of course, we know what happens. It's
Yeah.
Obi-Wan lives up to the ideals of a Jedi because he does not let his passion fuel what he does next. While he is very compassionate to the scenario of Satine's death, because obviously he loved her, he does not let passion, because there is a difference. There's compassion and then there's passion. He doesn't let the passion
Those are
fuel.
two different things.
Very two different things that come from the same type of emotions,
Yeah.
but how they are
How they are
expressed
is very different.
Yes. And that's something that Attack of the Clones Anakin gets wrong, because remember there's that scene with him and Padme where they're eating, where they're getting ready to go fly to Naboo, and they talk about like love being as part of a Jedi, and he's like, well, Jedi are encouraged to love because we are to be compassionate, and it's like, yes and no.
But no.
What you want is passion. What the Jedi are talking about is compassion, which are like
the Greeks. This is a weird thing. I'm gonna go.
No,
so
go
the
for
Greeks
it.
believe.
I mean, this is Star Wars.
Greeks believe there were 4 kinds of love.
Yeah.
The kind you feel for your family, the kind you feel for your friends, the kind you feel for other people because they are people, and the kind you feel for romantic partners. The Jedi are supposed to be
The third type.
the third type. Anakin has
He
types
wants
3 and type 4 a little bit too confused, and along with like some
a little bit of 1 and 2,
a little bit of 1 and 2.
because he does care about his friends heavily, which is
Like, I remember him beating the shit out of Obi-Wan because he thought Obi-Wan was his killer. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I believe Anakin would do that. That's also a fucked up thing the council did. I understand why they
Well,
did it.
yeah, 'cause
It's
you
fucked
have-
up that they didn't tell him, though.
because let's be honest, Anakin would have. Free of passion and full of love are the Stoics. Yeah. But yeah, it's because you can still love people.
Yeah.
Because Anakin is right there. He is right. He is correct. They are encouraged to love, but
Man.
there are supposed to be lines you draw.
Yeah.
Because you can't let your passion fuel what you do. That's the lesson at the end of the day for Jedi.
Yeah.
Um,
To put it mildly, with Jedi, the mission comes first.
which is why when we talk Master and Apprentice with our guest Remy, which that was a great episode. Go check that out. We talked about that with, I forgot his name all of a sudden. Rail.
Yeah, real ever.
Yeah, with Rail, because with his apprentice's death.
Yeah.
Because it's a very father-daughter situation. Because being a Jedi Master is very much putting you in a fatherly relationship with your Padawan. And it's something that every Jedi has to deal with.
Mhm.
And it's why Anakin fails at the end of Clone Wars Season 5 when Ahsoka leaves. Yeah. Because when Ahsoka leaves, that's his ultimate test, is can he
Yeah.
let her go? And the moment he follows her out of the temple is when he failed.
Mm.
That's when he failed.
It's not that for me, but
Because that's the moment he failed, because he couldn't let her go.
Mm.
And it's why also like Yoda stops Obi-Wan from following Anakin, because he's like, no, this is Anakin's mistake. You can't correct him.
Mm.
Because a master has to be willing to let their apprentice grow up and move on.
Mm.
And while yes, the situation that Ahsoka was in was fucked up, Anakin still had to learn to let her go in that situation, because Ahsoka was still making her own decision.
yeah.
And while her situation comes from a very different scenario than most other Padawans,
Yeah, I don't think most Padawans are typically framed for active murder.
yeah, I can only think of one other, and he's Legends, and it's my boy Zane,
Yeah.
who also, very similar to Ahsoka, got like after he was found innocent, they were like, "Hey, we fucked up. Would you like to come back?"
No.
No.
There's a lot of times, like, with the Jedi Council, like, even in the ones that are canon and the ones that are not, like, the council makes a lot of questionable decisions where I think some of the like my dispassion for Jedi sometimes comes from.
And the thing is, though, we can't.
And I don't.
While I agree with the fact that the council makes mistakes, it's that issue of the council is not a monolith for the Jedi.
Yeah.
Because we see very good examples of Jedi.
Yep.
Outside of that, yeah.
I think what happens is, like, if the Jedi spend too long in the temple, they become complacent.
Yeah.
Like, even Yoda,
Well,
love
that,
the guy, but he becomes complacent as well.
You will like, when we get to it, the Yoda comic.
Is it him reviewing things and he's like, ah, fuck, that's where we fucked up?
Well, in a way, because framing-wise, it's when he's on Dagobah. But, like, obviously there's the stories within the framing.
I assume he's reflecting on the past.
Yeah, and there's parts of it that take place during the High Republic era where in the first issue, he goes off to go help this planet and live with these people. And the Jedi Council's like, hey, that's not what we do. And he's like, yeah, it is. We help people. And in this case, they need me to live with them so I can show them the light.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what you're just talking about, is like the complacency of living within the temple.
Yeah. God, you're not allowed to touch the fucking mountain on Coruscant. You fucking asshole. The one living part.
So let's go back to the comic.
Yeah, we've gotten off topic a little bit.
I think we're like, so
Mugwhackers, rock hawkers, and the adults.
Yeah. Fuck the adults in this situation.
Oh, boy.
Because, like, while I understand their frustration, they are the ones that have caused this generational trauma. And they're like, yeah, we may have caused this, but fuck it, our kids are worse. And it's like, yeah, I wonder why. I wonder why. I wonder why the kids are worse. Maybe because you guys just left them? I wonder why.
Half of it is like, oh, I've realized, like, whoops, turned my child into monsters.
But now our kids are monsters and we don't want to go back. And it's like, yeah, but if you go back, you could fix this.
I don't think so.
I mean, but they could at least try.
They could try. That's where they fuck up, in my opinion.
I mean, they might not succeed, but as the parents, they should try, right?
Yeah, at the very least, try. However, I do understand, like, it might be hard, especially if your own son stabs you.
Yeah, but then you create a juvie system, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if kids act up and want to be murderers, you put them through. I mean, there are consequences to your actions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot that Yoda's, like, traveling companion. I'll lose that.
Yeah, because because that guy leaves him, like, halfway up the mountain.
He doesn't. Well, he leaves him in the most permanent way. He throws himself off the cliff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he just says, hey, man, there ain't nothing up at the top of this mountain. And Yoda's like, listen, all we have to do is keep going. And he's like, nah, I'm out.
So to explain the situation, Yoda follows the Force to this planet that nobody has really found before, and everybody there can use the Force.
Yes.
And unlike Padawan, no, they can actually use the Force. There is no, like, secret to them being able to use the Force. No, they just can use the Force.
They're not on the Resident Evil boost juice.
But they specifically can throw these, like, special magical rocks that are, like, glowing blue that Yoda has trouble, like, catching with the Force. Like, he can't directly have an impact with them on the Force.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't get it.
We eventually learn why.
Yeah. It is very much like the, like, first volume is like, Yoda, guys, children, look, I'm trying to talk to you and be reasonable, and they're just like, fuck him up.
Yeah. But eventually he works with one of the factions to go find out what's going on with the other faction. And in the process, he's delivering a prisoner.
Yes.
And so the other faction, so the Rock Hawkers, who are the other faction,
Yes.
the ones he's going to meet, the
Muckwhackers.
muckwhackers say, "Hey, go kill them for us," and he's like, "No, no, no, no. I'm
That's
going
not
to try
what I
to
do."
find a peaceful solution and figure out what's going on."
Yep.
The Rockhawkers are having none of that, and of course the Rockhawker prisoner that's with Yoda is like, "Hey, I told you they wouldn't have any of that."
Yep.
And so the Rockhawkers are like, "Look, we're gonna do what we do with all of the weak people that we run into. We're gonna send you up the mountain, and you got to find the heart of the mountain." And basically, that's like being exiled,
Yeah.
essentially. And so, Rockhawker prisoner and Yoda go up the mountain, and like you said, halfway up the mountain, Rockhawker's like, "Nah, you don't know what's in store for you up there. It's bad." And then he's like, and Yoda's like, "Well, come on." And he's like, "Nah, I'm done."
I'm out. Goodbye.
And Yoda's like, "Oh, I have no friend now."
And it's like, damn.
Like in Yoda's journal, he's like, "Oh, it's the silence that hurts Yoda the most." And it's like, fuck.
Yeah. Oof.
And so Yoda goes in, and he eventually finds this like entrance where he
Yep.
finds the parents, and the parents are like, "Oh, that's not our problem anymore. Fuck you." And Yoda's like, "Well, goddamn."
Whoops, we turned our children into monsters.
It's very much a Frankenstein's monster situation,
It kind of is, yeah.
where it's like, we created this monster and we don't want to take responsibility for it. So fuck you.
Yep.
And it's like Yoda's like, "But it's your responsibility." Nope.
Like, nah, don't think about it.
And so
Don't want it.
So Yoda goes further in, where he finds this Rockhawker that was exiled.
Yeah.
Because he was considered weak.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Garros.
Something like that.
I want to say Garros.
G something.
Garo.
Okay.
I was on the right track. Garo. So Garo was like, so he was like, "Hey, you know about this like all this rock hawking and all that. Can you teach me? I'm willing to be your apprentice."
We should explain this is after, like, Yoda has sat down with this kid.
Yeah, like they are trapped because they were exploring a little bit and then they got sealed.
Yeah.
The mountain like just sealed itself like to where they couldn't escape. And so they're like, "Okay, might as well do that."
Yep.
And so
After Yoda is, like, giving this child some food.
yeah. So Garo's like, I'll teach you." So Yoda learns, they meditate,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan runs, like in the Obi-Wan part, he runs into an adult Garo
Yeah.
who's like, "Hey, watch yourself, Jedi."
Like, out in public.
Yeah, in public of Mos Eisley.
Yeah. Admittedly, like, there was a shootout about.
Well, Obi-Wan stopped a shootout between it was between Greedo and some other guy,
Yeah.
saving Greedo's life, man. If only he did that at the cantina in episode 4.
Look, man. He had it coming. As Greedo always has.
That Han Solo and Chewbacca comic proves it. But yeah, so he manages to stop a fight between Greedo, which I love the side dialogue of, "Oh man, I had my money on Greedo getting not being done for." I love it.
I'm like, damn.
But yeah, so Garo's like, "Watch yourself, Jedi."
Like, this is fully during the time that I think clone.
This
not
would be like
clones.
around the same time that that a little bit before the Obi-Wan show, but
Yeah,
after
where-
like the Obi-Wan comic that we read probably.
Yeah, where they're still, like, actively looking for Jedi.
Yeah.
Like, he just says that shit. I'm like, thank God it's Tatooine filled with so much crime that no one will care.
Yeah. But Obi-Wan's like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Yep.
Because he's got to play dumb.
Yep.
And the reason that we know it's Garo is because he has a little swirl on his head
Yeah.
that all the people from that planet have. Specifically the Rockhawkers.
Rockhawkers usually have some form of symbol on their head.
It's that little swirl, though, usually. But, like, Garo specifically has
Garo
it.
specifically has that one. The
Um,
others have, like, weird markings on, like, either the sides.
Yeah, which Obi-Wan marks it in his journal, like the little swirl. And it turns out that it's a galaxy map, which is good for Luke, because Luke is in a situation where 3PO has been kidnapped by
Oh yeah.
by Scar Squadron.
Speaking of Scar Squadron,
Yeah, so you have
funniest...
you have no context of who the fuck these guys are.
Fuck these guys are, but they have the funniest fucking dialogue of like.
So they captured 3PO because they failed to get Luke earlier.
Yes.
In the comic run, and Darth Vader's like, "All right, get some information from this droid," and no, 3PO is the worst
like,
droid to get this information from.
We thought we'd have to torture him, but no.
He just tells us everything.
Tells us everything.
But it's not even useful. Everything.
It's when it is a case of you should have worded this question better, because it's like now.
I think it's a case of 3PO just doesn't have useful information.
Yeah.
I think no, because we are actively told that 3PO, out of the duo of R2 and 3PO, 3PO is mind wiped often. Yeah. R2 is never mind wiped, and 3PO is, though, which means they definitely make sure he does not have any rebellion, because 3PO is known to be talkative.
Yeah.
So the 3PO is not allowed to have any rebel secrets.
Yeah, until like it's become completely irrelevant, and even then they'll just mind wipe him again.
And so 3PO though has this self-imposed like, oh, I'm important.
Yeah.
And it's great.
They're like, we asked him about a bunch of information. How do we get him to shut up?
And Vader, so it's weird. I don't know if Vader recognizes 3PO in this situation, because if Vader does, it makes it even more cruel that Vader just goes, yeah, just shut this fucker down.
Yeah, I read that. I was like, damn.
It's like even Vader's done with this shit.
Like, if he knows, that's fucked up. But also, if he doesn't,
it's also fucked up, because it's like, how do you not know your own droid who hasn't really changed in appearance?
Yeah, no, he looks
like
same.
The last time you saw him, he had the gold trim.
Yeah, that hasn't changed at all,
and he has the same personality. Like there's nothing really new about him. And so, either way, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
And so Scar Squadron's like, nah, we're gonna hold him as bait to lure our heroes in. Which 3PO is like, of course they're gonna save me. I'm a very important droid. And
with our heroes, they're like, man, he is our friend.
But also he's a droid. We can let him go.
He's a droid. What are they going to do? As long as his memory core is intact, he's fine. But that doesn't really matter.
Han is even more cruel about it. He's like, he's replaceable.
Am I gonna say it? Yeah, I'm gonna say it. Look,
Han's like, and that's the frame I showed you guys. It's him going, yeah, he's replaceable.
I hate.
And Leia's like, we're not lacking on droids.
Yeah, they're like, this isn't. Respectfully, he is a protocol droid. He does not have as much use to the rebellion as astromech droids, specifically
like R2, who holds a lot of information.
Yeah, thank God they got their hands on 3PO and not R2.
Which that's when Luke's like, wait a minute, where's my droid? And it turns out R2's flying Red 5 on his own, and he's like, I'm gonna go save my buddy.
Don't you dare.
And Luke's like, don't you dare do that. And then like he's riding with a different astromech, and R2 threatens this astromech.
Again, droid crime.
R2 threatens this other astromech.
It's like, I will fucking beat the shit out of you.
Okay, that might be my favorite moment in this comic. Yeah. R2 threatening this other droid.
Very, like, not necessarily dour comic.
No.
But that is the funniest shit in this comic.
And this other droid is like, I'm afraid. I'm
scared. I know who this guy is.
To the point that he shuts off the hyperspace, because the hyperspace engine, because Luke's about to take off to follow R2, and the other droid's like, nah, I just got threatened like in the worst possible ways. I'm shutting this shit down.
Yeah. The other thing, right?
But yeah, so yeah, go ahead, and then we'll jump to where we
Okay.
were.
So the other thing is like, I assume this is a different R4
Yeah,
because all of the other R4s I've seen have not made it past the movie they were in.
yeah.
So I get this is also another thing. R2 is like really old for a droid, actually.
So is R5, possibly. We
Yeah.
don't know really how old he is, but we know he's at least in. You know, he made it from A New Hope to Mandalorian.
Yeah. R2 is like 20 years old in droid years. So that would probably be like being threatened by like a very old, like.
Well, older than that, because he appears in The Phantom Menace, which is 32 BBY.
Yeah.
So 32 plus 19, that's like 49, 50, 51.
Yeah. It's like
Math.
he was able to survive all that time as an astromech in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, we don't really see him blow up either.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we've ever... Like, we've seen him be taken apart, but he's never, like...
Or like be damaged, but not like destroyed like some other astromech droids.
Yeah.
So that threat is very fucking scary.
Yeah. And that's, like, the 51 years is assuming that he's not even older than that. Oh, yeah, droids can do whatever they want. Droids... Droids are more very sentient at this point.
Yeah.
Like... And so, like, I mean, we also have Chopper, who's the war criminal,
Yeah.
the little war criminal from Rebels. I mean, man, droid has committed actual war crimes.
Yeah.
But I wonder what a threat from R2 sounds like versus a threat from Chopper. But I meant like in basic,
Oh, yeah.
not in binary.
R2's out here. I will sell you for parts if you do not fucking shut down that hyperdrive.
Not even the Jawas will find you when I'm done with you.
You'll be in the bargain bin forever.
But going back to
Yeah.
where we were in the story, though. So Luke has now found a way, because Luke is also struggling with being a Jedi.
Yes.
This is before he's met Yoda. This is after Obi-Wan's death. So of course he's very
Yeah.
much like, and this is
Now
before.
what?
This is also before Obi-Wan's Force Ghost is appearing to talk to him.
Yep.
So he's like, the journal is the closest thing he's got to like
Yeah.
his training material, and so this training material leads him to the planet that Yoda was at, because the little swirl turns
Yeah.
out to be a galaxy map.
Yep.
Um.
So he goes there.
And so he finishes most of the story, but he doesn't get to the
but
end,
He doesn't read to the end.
which is very important.
Yeah.
It turns out, because so we find out that
Back in the past.
back in the past, we find out that the mountain is actually alive.
Yes.
Like, it's actually not a mountain; it's a
Like,
living creature.
Not metaphorically, like with the Force.
No. It's an.
It's actually alive.
It's a.
And the heart of
It's a giant.
the heart of the mountain was for real a heart.
Yeah, like, because Yoda's meditation, he discovers like the heart, literally, like we see it beating, and it's
Yeah.
and it's a heart, like an actual organ.
Yes.
And so it's just like, oh, okay. And so now they figure out that. So Yoda basically deduces what happened historically is that the humans arrived on this planet
Mhm.
and basically managed to take out. And the reason that he's able to figure this out is that the giant, I should say, because it's a giant.
Yes.
Communicates with Yoda through the Force of like, hey, here's our history. We used to have a lot of wars between the giants. Nobody took us down, and then these humans showed up.
Humans showed up and they fucking kicked our ass.
Yeah, it's the small people that ruined us.
Yeah.
It was the little things. And so Yoda's like, oh, so we need to like stop these wars so that way you guys can go back to kind of just living your
Yeah.
life as well.
And it's like,
And
alright.
so Garo and Yoda manage to leave the cave, leave the giant, because the giant opens a hole in himself to
Yeah.
allow them to leave. And they return to the Rockhawkers, who are like, hey, so you found the heart, because you guys returned. Y'all are like the first to ever return.
Yeah.
mainly because the adults were sent, and the adults were like, "Nah, we don't want to return." Not because we couldn't return; it's we don't want to.
Yes.
And so Yoda's like, "Okay, don't tell them what we know, because these people are infected with the dark side, and they want to use the giants for bad."
Yeah.
Garo, however, is a self-proclaimed coward, and is like, "Well, I'm a coward, so I'm going to give this information because
It's not exactly
well,
right,
but
yeah.
it gets to the point because realistically, he wants to be reaccepted into the society."
Like, they threaten Yoda. We, the reader, know Yoda's not in any danger from these fucking kids.
But Garo thinks he is.
But Garo thinks he is. And he's like, I don't want my fucking, like, student to get murdered.
Even though he himself tries to murder his student later with the help of the Rockhawkers.
Yeah.
That logic doesn't follow through.
I think, like, he just kind of gives up at the end. He's like,
Because eventually he tells them, hey, it's actually a giant. And so Yoda manages to escape.
Yes.
And he goes off to the muck.
Come on.
Remind me.
Whacker.
Muck whackers. Sounds like an insult, man.
Both of them do. They're not.
The muck whackers more so, though.
Yeah. Although, for me, I'm not reading it as an insult. I keep thinking of, like, the term muckraker, which has a very different thing.
But anyways, the muck whackers, they're like, hey, we can't do anything against these people. And Yoda's like, I'll teach you.
I'll teach you. I got something for you.
Because I now know how to do things that I didn't know before.
Yep.
And so we get this really cool sequence of the Rockhawkers controlling the giant and going after Yoda and trying to crush him and speaking through the giant.
Yes.
Because like they actually use the force to actually talk through the giant. Because we think at first the giant is talking to Yoda and threatening to crush him, and then we learn, oh, no.
No.
It's the Rockhawkers.
Because the giants don't talk.
And so Yoda manages to hold him off from being like crushed, and they're like, how is he doing this? And then he does this epic feat, and we don't really get the rest of the story because Luke stops reading.
With the help of the muckwhackers, they're able to repel.
Yeah. And we know that they start to bring some of them to life, like the others to life. And that's about our information regarding, hold on, R2's. In case y'all haven't paid attention, because I didn't talk about it last week.
No, you didn't.
I got an R2 Tamagotchi as part of another podcast I'm in. And he just alerted me that he needs some stuff, so I have to do that. If you'll take over for a second while I feed him and do stuff for him.
After this kind of happens, everyone's like, okay, all the Rockhawkers and the muckwhackers come to terms with the fact that, like, this has to stop. This level of fighting is not sustainable. Especially here on this planet where things are very connected. So, at the end of it, Yoda's like, I did a good thing today. I brought peace. I served as a diplomat. Eventually, a lot of the Rockhawkers and muckwhackers leave.
Mainly because the planet's just unsustainable for them afterwards. And it's
like there's not a lot of water on that planet. It looks mostly desert and mountain area.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot of vegetation.
And also, they now know, hey, there's worlds beyond.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know that
before. They didn't know that.
And so they all leave, except for Garo. Who kind of gets salty about it.
He gets mad.
He's big mad.
Yep.
So we now convene with the book Ender, where Luke has now arrived to this world, which also has a really cool image that is cool up until like you look at Ken doll Luke face. Like it would make a really cool poster, except Luke's face is like a Ken doll. Like, imagine that'd be a cool little art piece.
It would.
And then you look at Luke's face, and it's like, oh.
Except for that expression that I'm not sure what it is.
Is he afraid? Is he... It looks like resting bitch face, actually.
Luke, I don't give a fuck, Skywalker.
Luke's got a little bit of RBF going there.
And so, Luke
Anyways,
gets there,
and immediately gets attacked.
and Garo shows up and he's like, "Hey,
Hey Jedi, I
hey,
know what you
Jedi,
are.
I'm gonna fuck up your day."
Did Yoda train you? And Yoda's like, and Luke's like, no, I haven't met the
No.
man.
No. And it's like, I don't care. Fuck you.
He's like, you Jedi are all the same.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
And like
And he does.
and he like explains that like, hey, this world has suffered after Yoda left, and like he points out like all the people around him
Yeah.
that didn't leave got turned into rock. And we learn though that it's because they need to leave because the rock people need to be allowed to have their home
Yeah.
because the Force is basically saying, hey, no, this world belongs to them, not to you guys.
Mm.
Once again, a very similar message to another to Padawan, a little bit of like the world not
Don't
belonging to.
Fuck with the planet that is alive
Yeah.
in the truest sense of the word. And I didn't think that it was like
And it's
people had been turned into rocks. I just thought that the rocks were a lot more animate, the giants.
hmm
Like these were a bunch of
But
kid little
we
giants.
saw that these are like that they
there
were
are the
they look like
there are the
people.
entombed, as I'm going to call
Yeah.
them, which is like what happens to a normal person.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, cause they had that blue glowing rock thing when they were.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about.
that's what happens to a normal person. Like,
That's what
the
I'm talking
blue
about.
living rocks are the ones.
Yeah. But anyways, there's some that were entombed
Yeah.
this way, and he's like, this is because of this. The war never ended, but it
Yeah.
did.
It
Like,
ended.
cause Luke's like, no, look at your world. It's ended a long time ago.
Yeah,
And Garo eventually is like, you know what, you're right, and he sacrifices
Like-
himself through the
but
Force.
like not after. Luke,
Like after cutting Luke with a lot of rocks and
Yeah.
beating his. But to be fair,
Like-
Luke is still learning.
he is still learning. I think it's very much like he's just gonna keep fighting until he either dies or Garo gives up. Fortunately for him, Garo's like, the only thing I've ever been good at is giving up. So I'm going to go and give up because I don't want to kill another jet. I don't want to kill
Because
anyone.
I think the reality hits him, and at that moment, because he's been
Yeah.
spending, at this point, it is at least over 32 years. At least over 51. Sorry, because of the math
Yeah.
that we talked about. It's at least over 51 years that this man has been dealing with this since probably the age of 10 to 13.
Yeah.
Is what Garo probably was in the Yoda flashbacks. So he's at least in his 60s, at least, still dealing with this trauma from when he was like a kid.
And he goes and he gives up and he's like,
And he offers his life force to the rock people.
yeah. But for me, the reason why is like, all right, this isn't what my student would have wanted. I yield.
Yep.
For me, those things are like always like, I'm okay with this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm never like, not everything is to be like a big climactic battle.
Yeah. Yep, sometimes you just gotta move the story along. So that's Yoda's Secret War.
Yeah.
Because really, that wraps it up. Thoughts?
I enjoyed it. It was very nice, very sweet.
Yeah. Get to see.
Shame about C-3PO though, but
Yeah,
he is a protocol droid.
and we'll of course whenever we hit that part of the timeline, we will discuss that storyline and
Scar
connect
Squadron.
the dots.
Can we please get this droid? Shut up.
But really, we weren't reading the comic for that part. We wanted the
Yeah.
Yoda part. So that's it for March.
Yeah.
This was the last episode in March. 7.5, by the way,
Okay.
is where I'm putting this.
Yeah, I'm not.
Because it's not it's a good story, but it's not very strong.
Yeah.
Also, the art kind of doesn't help for me.
I'll leave it there because it's not.
Because the background art is fine, and I think it works. Like the
For me,
photorealism
it
works for Yoda,
isn't-
but everything else it doesn't.
For me, it isn't the art that's a problem. I think it's just this is a story that I've heard before. Like,
Yeah, because once again, like you said, it's very similar to stories that we already know, and it
Yeah.
has very similar messages to other stories, not
We've gone
specifically to
through.
Padawan, but to other stories.
yeah,
Um,
the overlap is insane.
yeah. So I had to move some stuff around
Oh,
because some stuff came out that I didn't know was out because like they kind of just dropped it without like a big
surprised.
without like talking about it coming out because I thought it was being moved, but it wasn't. And then it came out, and then people on Twitter were talking about it being out, and like the fact that nobody at Disney Publishing talked about it being out.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, we got to talk about it. So as I said, we are talking about another video game next week. A game that's not out yet that should have already been out and is apparently in beta in certain parts of the world where you can play it, but in the US it is not. And that is Hunters.
Mm.
And I actually physically bought this book. Hunters Battle for the Arena. That's what we'll be reviewing next week. I've already started reading some of it. I've read a couple chapters already. I'm liking it so far. So that's what we'll read next week.
Okay.
And as usual, at the end of the month, we'll go ahead and start announcing the rest of the planned reviews at the moment. I had to remove...
These are subject to change if things
come
happen.
out, yeah. And so I had to move a comic to make room for this.
Mm.
And I moved some other things, and now the schedule's a little longer for the rest of the season.
Yep.
So we got Hunters Battle for the Arena. And then we've got our Bad Batch Season 2 review the week after. Because this week is the last week of Bad Batch.
Yep.
And then the week after that, we got our High Republic Cataclysm review. We're going back to High Republic titled proper books. And then we got the Quest for Planet X the week after. And then we leave High Republic to talk about the comic that we would have talked about next week if this hadn't come out. And that's the Return of the Jedi Jabba's Palace one-shot because of the 40th anniversary for Return of the Jedi. And that's our schedule for April.
Yep.
Now, there's obviously something that comes out in April that we're not talking about in April because it's at the end of April, and we got to give a week to it.
Yep.
And that's obviously Jedi Survivor. So that'll be the first thing that we talk about in May.
Yeah.
Because obviously everybody's going to be asking, where's Jedi Survivor on the schedule? It's the week after. Because it comes out like we saw in the trailer, the 28. It's the last. It's literally as far as we can go at the end of the. Like we would no. We wouldn't have time. So yeah, next week, Star Wars Hunters.
Yep.
Literally no basis to go off of yet because there is no game.
Yep.
Unless you're in another part of the world where the beta is accessible and where you're actually even getting updates to the beta. Because like I saw on Instagram that they had a new version out that they upgrade, like they did a new like patch because they've been doing patches for this thing. And it's like, great, thanks. When is it coming here? Because the game.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah, the game is essentially supposed to be kind of a Star Wars Overwatch.
Yay.
But it's only going to be on Switch and mobile devices. Because it's a free-to-play game.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it. Nope, that's not it. Trying to find it on Instagram because I search. I saw an update not too long ago and I can't find it now. Anyways. But yeah, they've been patching it, and so I'm interested to see when we'll get it here. We were supposed to have it last year. It's one of those situations. But yeah, that's next week.
Was
So,
live too.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube. That's youtube.com/Escape Reality Films. If you are watching on Twitch, that's twitch.tv/Escape Reality Films. Be sure to subscribe or follow, and that really helps us out. And if you want to find another way to help us out, we also have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/Escape Reality Films. There you can, at certain levels, you can get our YouTube content a week before it comes out. And then also, if you want to be part of our community, we also have a Discord that's public. And that is, if you're watching on YouTube, it's in the little description box down below.
It's become a little bit more active recently.
Yeah, we've been getting some new people, and that's kind of been helping it.
Yeah.
And then if you're watching on Twitch, it should be linked on the home page. Like, it should be linked somewhere on the main page. And then shout out to our Twitch subscriber, Matt.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you for continuing to subscribe to us. Your support is appreciated. And thank you to our Patreon subscriber, Jennifer Brantley. Once again, your support is appreciated.
Thank you.
And then we would also like to thank Mobcast Network, who provide the space. They are a podcasting group who do different, stuff like that, have me involved as well. I'm a producer and co-host on their shows.
Yeah.
They got Cult Movie Cantina, where we talk about a cult movie with somebody who hasn't seen them. So this week we did our cult meeting, or last week we had our cult meeting that came out, and we got to try some Japanese Kit Kats, and we also revealed the next movie that we're talking about, which is coming out this week for the podcast, and we are talking about Megan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So, if you want to hear our thoughts...
Little robot girl.
Yeah, if you want to hear our thoughts on that, be sure to check that out. That should come out Wednesday. And you can find that on youtube.com/Mobcast Network, or on any podcasting app under Mobcast Network. And then I also want to thank Gamers and Geeks, who are the local gaming store that's in the area here at Mobile, Alabama. If you're ever in the area, you can find them on Howes Ferry and Moffett on the corner there in that little shopping center. And they have all your gaming needs. If you want, like Magic, if you like board games, if you like tabletop games, all that stuff's there. D&D. They also have an arcade in the back where you can pay for $10 for the day, get a little wristband, and you play for free it's the free play machine, so you don't put quarters in. You just pay the one $10 fee for the day, and you can play whatever games you want. They've got some classic games. They got all 4 of the Mortal Kombats.
I've also got Galaga.
Yeah, they got Galaga if you're really classic.
Yeah.
I think I've seen Crazy Taxi.
Yeah, I think they've got they've recently put in Guitar Hero.
Yeah. So there's some options. If
Yeah.
they've got House of the Dead 2.
I think so.
They've got some machines where you can pick a bunch of games too.
Yeah.
So because a lot of arcade machines nowadays come with 1,000 games.
Yep.
If you pre-program, if you get the computer system and you program them with that. We actually got one of those in the office here that has that similar thing.
Yep.
And so
they also have I think the first Tekken.
yeah, they got some good. So if you're a classic arcade gamer, you've got your options here.
Yes.
And they provide the actual space to Mobcast Network. Mobcast rents it from them, so we like to shout them out because they're awesome, and we tend to buy drinks and stuff from them. we love them. And then we also want to shout out to Engage Gaming, who's right next door to them. They have a little service where you can pay a hourly rate to play on their machines. They've got PS5s, they got Xbox Series X, they got PC, they got what's the word I'm looking for? VR.
There we go.
Yep, that's it. They got everything, and you just pay an hourly rate, and you can play your games. And if you pay a monthly membership fee, the hourly rate is decreased a little bit. You can also set up for events too. They've got you can have birthday party events and stuff too. So a lot of cool stuff with that. And all that's here. I mean, in the same building. Anything else? Oh yeah,
yes.
Let's talk about Titans and Tabernacle.
Yeah. So the name of this campaign is The Trials of Nebu.
Yep.
You can catch that over from 5 to 7 Central Standard Time, because I always fuck that up.
Yeah, because we got to make sure we
Yes.
got to remember that our audience doesn't always just use Central Time.
Yes.
I know for sure we've got some Pacific and Eastern Time audience members.
So, our infiltration mission was a success. We got the documents. Unfortunately, some of our party members decided to stick around for a little longer than they should have, and have now, I think, stumbled into an encounter with someone that maybe they weren't ready for. I won't be there tomorrow because I have work, but I've left instructions. I'm sure my friends can carry their weight without me, but they know what to have.
I mean, there's also some chaos that's going to happen for sure.
Yes.
And that's why you watch a good D&D game. It's for the
Yeah.
chaos.
I can only plan so much.
So that'll be interesting. So yeah, remember to check them out. They're on Twitch at Steam_Dungeon with Steam in all caps.
Yes.
And just the D on Dungeon caps. I think Twitch doesn't care though about.
Yeah.
I don't think that the caps lock like.
Yeah. You should be able to find it.
Yeah. It's linked down below on the
Yes.
YouTube description box. So if you're watching on YouTube, I've got the link for you there.
Yep.
I think that's everything.
Yeah, that should be everything.
So yeah, we'll see you guys next week as we talk Star Wars Hunters Battle for the Arena.
Yeah.
And I have spoken.
Later, loser. No.
We love you
goodbye.
guys.
Fair.
Ignore him.